Okay, chapter 5.5 is translations. And a translation means slide but not turn. Alright, you can slide but you cannot turn. For instance, this bicycle, if it starts here, and it ends up over here, that is kind of a translation. This point right here moves a certain amount over and then a certain amount down, and if I were to say this part right here, I would go exactly the same amount over and then exactly the same amount down, and I'd be in the same place. So every piece of this bicycle moves over. It slides. Now this one has two movements. It moves over first, and then it moves down. So that's two translations. Okay, this counts as a translation. If it turns like this, if it starts here and it ends over, let's see if I can get it to do this. It ends like this. This is actually not a translation, it's a rotation. Maybe a translation and a rotation, but it started at one place and it ended up somewhere else. And it's not just a slide, but it includes a turn, so this doesn't count, if that makes any sense. Also, there's one other thing that you need to know is not a translation. Let me quickly get rid of these. The other thing that is not a translation would be if you were to change the size. So this looks like a translation straight down, but if you end up let's see, this one is not a true translation, because if we're checking this one, that distance is different than this distance. See, from this point to this point is not the same as from this point to this point, because this one is bigger, and so every point has to move the same distance for it to be a translation. And so when you increase in size, it's also not a translation. A true translation is just moving from point A to point B, and then moving again if you have more than one movement. That's what a translation looks like. Okay, so this is more what we're talking about with the translation. This, wonder if there we go. Oh, that didn't work. You guys are you guys are stuck with me. There we go. I was just trying to make it so it looks a little nicer. Oh my, we're gonna just not worry about that. Okay, so this one shows on a graph what happens. B has moved 1, 2, 3 to the right and 3 down. So it's moved 3 over and 3 down. C has also moved 3 over and 3 down. A has moved 3 over and 3 down. This is a true translation. This is what it looks like. You might have to do some of this on graph paper. It'll tell you to move it over and down, or over and up, or the other direction. And you just get some graph paper and draw it. It should be one of the easiest things you've done, because I know you guys are ready for this.